All right, guys. This is episode, I have no idea, 47, maybe? About 30
Like
Greeley
Biden,
guys and 17
46.
Empire guys. Huh?
Joe Biden, 46.
Oh my God. So we got Jay Albis here. Jay Albis is the only NCAA champ that we've interviewed. So he's a two-time NCAA champ, New York State finalist in high school, two-time All-State, two-time section champ.
Three-time section champ.
Two-time. You know what, D? Do your goddamn homework. I'm going to fire you. Okay? I enough of this. I had enough
I
of
thought it
this.
was free.
Jay obviously is super talented. Now he's taken his talents into the coaching world where I've heard nothing but really, really good things. Not only have I heard good things, he's been at Greeley camps before and has done a fantastic job, and he's an awesome coach. So, Jay, if you watch these interviews like we were talking about before, every interview starts with the same exact question, and it's how did you get into wrestling in the first place?
I got into wrestling in the first place, so I practiced for like a month when I was in fifth grade, I want to say, something like that. My friend in the neighborhood wrestled at the John Jay Fishkill feeder program. I went there, I practiced for like a month, and then like nothing came of it. So then in high school, I did it because I was a big football player. So I did it to stay in shape for football, and I ended up coming to the realization that I'm not going to be, 6'2", 250 pounds, running back or wide receiver, whatever the case may be. So I stuck with wrestling. I was better at it anyway, and it worked out.
What grade did you say that was, Jay, when for football you decided?
Freshman year.
That's kind of crazy, Coach. Like I was thinking about that before because I knew Jay started later. I mean, Tyler, I think, told us about that story of you doing youth for a second. I knew that was a thing, but I never really thought of it. But to think about somebody like Jay, who ended up being a two-time national champ, state finals as a high school wrestler. I mean, think about it. He was all-state as a junior. That's 2 years later after starting wrestling. He was an all-state wrestler. What do you think that was, Jay? We get into I'll start younger and go earlier, but I'm just curious of how you think you kind of just took to it so quickly.
I think being extremely athletic definitely helped. And then I think also me, I always had that fight in me, that dog in me. I always had that, what's your dog? I always had that dog in me, that fight. And I just put the time in. I knew I had to work twice as hard. My off seasons, because I started so late. I started my freshman year, and these kids have been wrestling since they were 8, 9. So I really put the time in. I dedicated time to the sport, and it just paid off. But I think what helped me transition to have success so quickly was, one, me being able to, find that dog, find that fight. You see it all the time with kids, where it's he knows technique, and he goes to practice and all that, but then he just doesn't have that dog in him, that fight. So I think that's one. I always had a chip on my shoulder too. I was extremely athletic, so I was able to adjust to positions that the non-athletic, or not as athletic kids were able to. So I think that's what propelled or accelerated my success. But overall, I think the grand scheme of things is I just put the time in. I just worked twice as hard because I knew I had to, or else I wasn't going to be successful.
Yeah, and that's very true as a guy that was around when Jay was coming up. But we'll get more into that. I think, D, I want you to jump in on this, though, because I think it's interesting, because we'll talk a little bit about Jay's freshman year, sophomore year, and then we'll talk through college a bit and all that. But, we want kids to start young, right? We want to build a strong youth program and all that stuff. But I do think, and like I said, coaches, I want you to kind of answer this. I'm kind of curious of your opinion, and Jay, you could jump in obviously on this as well, but it's never too late, really. I mean, you could start as a youth wrestler. That's great. That's better, probably. You could build, Jay ended up being a state finalist, and I think probably was the best kid in the weight class, probably didn't have his best match, but was, very good. But how about if he did wrestle 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade? It might have been really scary what he would have done. Or it could have been the opposite. Maybe he would have been sick of wrestling by then. We're not really sure. You don't know, right? But I think it's really interesting that you kind of give 9th graders hope that if they're a little athletic and they're tough and they listen to their coaches, you could still do it. It's not too late. I know a lot of people kind of think oh, we got to start as a 1st grader,
I don't think it's ever too late. I think if you again, you put the time in, you'll get what you want.
Yeah. What do you think about that, D? Because like as a coach, you've been coaching youth for forever. Like, do you think it's a must that you start at a really young age, or do you think, well, obviously it's not because of Jay, but do you think would you highly recommend starting at a really young age? Like, what's your perspective on that?
Well, I think that if they start younger, then they learn the values of wrestling real quick, so they get losses and wins, and they learn how to overcome it. So Jay came in his freshman year. I don't know if he was a 25 to 30 win wrestler right off the bat, but then so he must have felt some loss that he had to figure it out that really quick. Like a lot of these guys will lose when they're youth and then start winning. They hit modified, they kill everybody. They get the freshman year, 7th and 8th, they lose a couple. It's hard. It's a hard pill because your identity is wrestling and it burns a lot of kids out. But they also learn, that after freshman year, they could propel again.
Well, Jay, I have a question for you just to go on this before you get anywhere else is when you start as a freshman, I mean, I'm sure there was days that were hard, right? I mean, I've been in the room with you, 11th, 12th grade, some harder days that weren't fun for anybody, in the room. But did you, for the most part, enjoy it from 9th through 12th? Do you know what I'm saying? Did you have a love for it through 9th through 12th, pretty much?
I have a love for it from 9th through 12th. I loved it 9th grade. And then I'd say once I started getting the off season going and stuff, I hated it. I remember going into junior year, having a few conversations with John. I'm like, I'm not wrestling in college.
Yeah.
I'm not wrestling in college. But then senior year, I fell in love with it, and I fell in love, with the whole process and everything. So, up and down, just like everyone else. I just think that sophomore year, I hated it. I was just like, I just do this because I'm good, But even junior year, I was just like, I'm just doing it because I'm good. I'm not wrestling. I'm college. I'm not doing that. But
yeah, I remember you then. I don't remember you as much your sophomore year. I do remember you your sophomore year. I remember you. I think we were at Pace still for sectionals at that time. So I think I remember, talking to your dad a little bit, and you were kind of in the club, and you were coming a little bit. It wasn't anything crazy. But the reason I asked you that question though about the love is because you look at a guy like PJ, for example, and for the people that are watching this, it's a lot of people that probably know me and Empire people, but Jay's coached PJ for a very long time and has been intricate in his success. But I feel like PJ is against the rule in a sense where he just loves it, right? Like, Pete is a good dude. Pete, his dad, Pete Duke, is a good dude. But he pushed, PJ hard. PJ responded, right? But I feel like a lot of kids that start young like that, with that pace of wrestling, they burn out. Like a lot of people that were around him at that time are gone now. So I was just kind of curious of the difference of if you start a little bit later, is it easier to be happy in the sport compared to and PJ's an anomaly. He's a different person. He just loves it. But I'm just using him as an example of somebody that started young and worked hard,
Yeah, PJ's that once in a generation athlete, but PJ loves it. Like he from being a little kid, it's not even so much his dad, he loves working hard. He loves doing all the stuff that your average Joe does not, and that's why he's as successful as he is because
he's the exception. He's a special case, like you said. He's just different. The way he's able to do things is just different. Mm-hmm. But if you look at guys that came up in that generation with him, I don't know if you remember do you remember Luca Duva a little bit and these guys? And Luca came back to wrestling last year, and he actually was pretty successful. He came back, and I think he took 3rd or 4th in the section. But he was him and PJ were like this. And they both were climbing the ranks, superstars. And it's PJ was able to keep that going. He never got burnt out. Like you said, he loved it. He's a different breed. He just thought, whatever. And Luca was like, this ain't for me. And then he comes back and he takes 3rd in section, which is good for a normal kid, but PJ Techfold's getting the state finals. Yeah, exactly. So it's just a different dynamic. And I think it's interesting if you start later. I wonder if that kind of takes some of the pressure off. I guess there's good things and bad things of both, maybe.
Yeah.
They need the technique, though. I mean, it's hard to learn that technique to get to the level of Jay in 4 years. And you could see, I watched his finals today, you could see the technique was there. Yeah. He knew exactly what to do. Yeah. And I think, Jay, you invented a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You invented, you wrestled your own style. I mean, a lot of that stuff, we don't coach.
Yeah. No, like I said, I don't really think, even my senior year of high school, I don't really think I was very technical. I think I was strong, quick, and athletic.
And you were good at what you were good at.
Yeah.
Your stuff that you were good at, you were great at.
Exactly.
And you led with your head.
Yeah, that was another thing.
Those doubles.
I did not.
His head was always right
Yeah,
forward.
In the chest, right? Boom.
Yeah,
I just didn't care.
I know. You had a lot of black eyes.
No, Jay was tough, man. I mean, Jay obviously is still a tough guy, but I remember, like Jay said, and it's not BS. It's like that dog factor. Like even when we were in Pop and Flow and some big matches, Jay would get on the line. If Jay stepped on the line with somebody, he was going. Didn't
I
matter
love
who
it.
it was. He didn't care what he was ranked. He didn't care if it was a nationally ranked guy. It didn't matter. He had the right mentality all the way through, and I believe as a coach that will shine as he goes forward. But just to get a little bit more, I guess, into the trenches a bit, maybe talk about your freshman year and your first year, your first exposure to like real wrestling and how that went for you.
So my freshman year, I actually was JV the beginning of the first half of the year. I lost the wrestle off to our 106 pounder. I weighed about like 103 pounds. So it was like in the middle. And I didn't know anything about wrestling. Like I went to certifications and I was like, I guess I'm going 106. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a 2 pound allowance for 99 and I can drop down. So that day, like for some reason I just didn't eat lunch and I just so happened to weigh in at 101.
Yeah.
So I certified for 99 and my coach educated me on it, Coach Weaver, and I was like, oh, okay. So I guess I'm JV for now. And then I'll go and I'll drop down to 99. So my first varsity match, I got pinned by Michael DiNardo.
That's hysterical.
Yep.
Teammates, college teammates.
Yeah. And then my first varsity tournament down in 99, I ended up winning.
Wow.
So I ended up finishing the year like 27-12. I was like the 7th or 6th seed going into sectionals, and I didn't even place, and I was like devastated. So I was like the end of the world. And then, yeah, that was pretty much my freshman year. I mean, I started off JV. Not a lot of people know that, but I started off JV, had like 27 wins. It was just an average kid, you know.
So
Yeah,
not only
that's above average.
Yeah.
27 wins is above average, especially if you never wrestled.
D, we need to find a ninth grader next year that's going to go 27-12 for us at 99 pounds.
No kidding.
Call him
Please.
up
I
or
mean,
something?
when are we going to get a gift like that?
Never.
Every kid we had always started 500.
Not
that
Aaron.
was great.
Aaron was good.
Or how many kids we get freshman, sophomore year, and by the time they're seniors, they're all section, which is
I mean that's more of our
accomplishment.
path. We have you know, I love our guys, but Chappaqua not notorious for bangers, you know, so they go out there, they're not that great, and by their senior year, I mean, look at Jacob Ferrero, losing record as a freshman, state finals as a senior, and he just little Jacob Ferrero plug, he just won 12-6 at the NC State dual meet, so yeah, we did good.
His transformation is remarkable.
Yeah, he's tough, man. He loves it. I won't mess with him anymore, Jay. He'll beat me up. I'm a little nervous about him. But and Camacho, it was good to see some club guys. Camacho almost got a tech today. It was like 20. They wrestled Gardner Webb, which is not a powerhouse, but they all dominated, which was cool. Cool to see. But so you 27-12 Jay as a freshman is insane. I never knew you started as JV. I did know you started later in your career. But I think that's like such a good thing for younger kids to hear, kids that you're coaching, like, you know, you were super focused and you got really good. And if I remember correctly, the transition into your 10th, did you take third in 10th grade?
10th grade, I took third, and I was also devastated as well.
But you like jumped levels, like you were a guy. Like, so what was your training like in the off season of 9th grade? Because I don't know if you were at the club yet.
I was with Max Aspirin. So I was at the club, but I was just on the other side of it.
Okay.
You know, John had it split. So I was with Max Aspirin from the end of freshman year all the way up till I want to say October of sophomore year. Then Max left. I went to John.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I started John in like October of sophomore year. I started with Iowa Style. And I wrestled 106. I cut down from like 118 or 116, something like that. 106. I was big. Couldn't take it. First weight cut experience, couldn't take it. So I ended up bumping up to 113. I ended up beating the top guy at 113 late in the season. I was the 1 seed going into sectionals, all the, you know, gets and gadgets. And the moment just got to me. I mean, this is my second year wrestling. I was never like the guy. And I ended up losing in the semifinals, coming back, taking third. And I was devastated as well.
Who was it in the semis? I don't even remember the guys that were around at that time.
Mark He was from Hen Hud. He was from Hen Hud.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I forgot his name. I know what
Mark
you're talking about.
Henry or something like that. I don't know what his name
I know what
was.
you're talking about. I remember him vaguely. Yeah. But I mean, that's crazy. Think about that, D. Second year wrestling, third in the section, number one seed at the tournament. But you were at Askren's. What was like a big difference? Was there a big difference between the training there and the training at the time, I guess, Iowa style and then Empire?
Um, Max was very technical, more play, um, and it was a lot more like, laid back. It was great. It was a great way for me to build sort of like the foundations. Like we'd always do level changes, stance and motion all the time, and then he put us in unorthodox positions, and it was a great way to sort of start. And then, but I didn't really have great partners. And then I went to John's, and John's was a completely different animal. I remember my first practice. It was what was his name? Halil.
Hmm.
That guy.
Yes, Connecticut, right?
Yeah, no, you're thinking about somebody different, D. Yeah,
Okay.
Halil's Connecticut.
Halil. It was my first practice there, and we went live, and he kicked the living crap out of me, and he had me on my back, and I went like this, and he goes, "We don't let people off their backs here." And boom, 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 like pounding me, and I was like, "Wow, this is a different thing." So, um, yeah, that's like that's the I'll never forget that memory of
You know what's funny, Jen? I don't know if you know this. You probably do, but D, I think we've talked about before too. Back in the day, John used to, if a new kid would come to the club, especially if he was from like Ashburn or something like that, he would take somebody that was pretty tough, around the same size as them, and make them just beat the crap out of them.
exactly what he did.
Yeah, and I guess he did that there, but like he would used to get Brian and Steven and whoever he could grab and say, "Hey, get that guy," and just
Yep.
pound him. And his rationale for that was, I don't know if I agree with it or don't agree with it. I think I kind of do because it's like these guys are really good, right? These guys are really tough, and this is what you want to be. So you got to feel it. You got to feel where you're not. Like you're not there yet. So like you're lacking this. And I guess
Oh,
it could send some kids the wrong way, but it could take a guy like Jay just to propel his stuff.
oh, I was so pissed. I was so pissed. I think those beatings lasted a month before they stopped.
And they flipped the other way
They,
eventually.
they flipped.
Yeah.
They flipped.
And I
But
think that, I think that feeds into your personality though a little bit, what you were talking about with like the dog stuff,
yeah,
like, just having a good mentality. Like a lot, that's why I said I'm not sure if I totally agree with it because I do as a coach, as somebody that could say, hey, let's get the best out of this guy. But if you're running a business, sometimes it could, there's going to be kids that are going to be like, I can't do that.
it,
Sorry.
it look, it's you just if you want to be successful, you got to be tough. And there's different ways to approach it, and the way that John used to approach it, it can be frowned upon.
Yeah.
I personally love it, but it can be frowned upon, especially in the business manner and nowadays. But I think I love it, and I think it's a great way to get the best out of kids.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree. I just said as a business sense, like some people just might frown upon it, but even for the kids, emotional development, I feel like it's good. It's
Yeah.
like nothing's going to be given to you ever in life. So if you could figure it out on the mat, it's going to help you, elsewhere. So I think it's the way to go. So 10th grade, third in the section. Now you're at the club. Who was like your? I'm trying to remember back. I can remember your senior year more, but like when you were first in the club, who were your like go-to workout partners? Do you remember who you were going with most of the time back then?
Oh my gosh. I don't. Halil
Yeah.
and Kyle Linder.
Wow.
How did you start doing against Halil later on, though?
Oh, it flipped within like a month or so.
Sorry, I had to go. We were hooking up a bathtub.
Yeah, that's good.
Everything happens on this show. It's just like Joe Rogan. But what was I gonna say? That's so funny that you say Linder though, because his brother Evan was at practice this morning. There's so many Linders that like there's still
Uh,
one at practice. So I think that's pretty interesting.
Kyle was my go-to practice partner all the way till I left.
Kyle was tough, man. Kyle was tough.
Kyle, we're never like one was clearly beating the other. Like we'd battle
You
all
guys
the.
scrapped.
Oh my god. all the time. We'd sit there, we'd do those like 30-minute goes, and someone would get like we'd scramble so much, and at the end of it, like it's like 3 takedowns a piece. It's like it's nonstop action, but no one's scoring.
And you
And
guys are making each other better, like for
oh
sure.
my gosh, yeah, me and Linder. He was a great partner.
You know he's an MMA fighter now or
Oh
something.
yeah, I see him knocking
He's
people out.
knocking dudes
Crazy,
out. He's like 4-0, 5-0.
crazy.
Yeah, he's good.
Oh, he's always been like
Yeah, I remember, not to like sidebar this and go off the rails a bit, but we were in like Lake Placid or something, and before one of his matches, this kid is eating pre-workout.
Oh yeah,
Pounding pre-workout.
that was senior year. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like,
Um,
"Oh, coach, it gets me revved up. It gets me revved up." I'm like,
Hey, that was one of the best flat teams
"Oh yeah,
that you
that
guys
seems
ever
good."
sent.
Oh shit. D, can you see Jay? It's froze up on me. Oh yeah. Oh, I see it now, Jay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
Jay froze up. Yeah, it froze for some reason.
All right, there's a lot of commotion going on in my house right now.
No worries.
They're all excited. We got a whirlpool tub now.
Can you see? Oh,
Can I see Jay? No.
yeah, he's frozen, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah, that's pretty impressive how he went from freshman and became a state finalist, and he got hosed in the finals. I watched the finals today. There was stall calls against him, no calls. It's crazy.
I like how you're trying to keep it going while Jay's frozen here. That was good stuff what you just did, D. That's a professional move.
Oh.
I was just saying that
Jay, if you could hear me, I don't know if you could hear me, but sign off and come back in because it looks like you're frozen. So I'm not sure what's happening. But yeah, no, it's crazy, and it's also crazy that he started as a ninth grader, like you said, like actually exactly what you just said. It's insane though. Like it's actually insane that he was that good because, like you said, when are we gonna get a gift like that? Like that doesn't exist. Like those people.
Oh my God. You know what though? You never know who's walking around your halls. You got to get a guy. I love what he said about. I had the dog in me. I had that dog.
He did though. Like that's not.
But I never heard that term.
No, me neither. I never heard like that. I heard like be a dog or you're a dog. I never heard.
I wonder if he made it up.
Yeah, maybe. Like, but he did. He was like that. I mean, obviously in college, but like watching him at like big tournaments and stuff like that. He would get on the line and he was ready to scrap. It didn't matter who it was. And I always felt confident too as a coach. Like if we would go to a tournament like that, that it didn't matter what team we were wrestling, we could possibly get a win in this weight class because Jay's going to go against this guy and he's going to compete. He's not going to take a back seat to anybody.
There's a lot of guys like that who are. I mean, I don't know what he was like in the room, but in the room they're terrible, and then all of a sudden they get on the mat. I think Jay was good in the room and good on the mat. But some people, when the lights are on, that's their time. They don't let the nerves get to them. They embrace it. And the people that come up to you and say, "I'm really nervous, coach," it's like, yeah, well, you're supposed to be a little bit nervous. This is what you're laying it on the line. So
to me, it was always a shame though. Like the opposite, opposite of what Jay was kind of is that kid that you did see in the room that was super talented, and you knew that they never reached their potential because they were so nervous. Like they never competed to their highest level. Now Jay, like you said, Jay was the type of guy that was tough in the room, but he was tough in a match. Didn't matter. Like he was going to scrap and probably a little better in a match. He'd probably take even up another match, knowing that this is real competition.
What's interesting is he said he was devastated. He was devastated when he took sixth at sectionals. No, I don't think he placed freshman year. Then again, he took third. He was seated first, and he was devastated. So I wonder how those other matches, the state finals, I'm sure he was devastated. I think his sophomore year in college, he was in the national finals.
I don't remember if he was in the national. Was he? Yeah, I think he had the match 1-2 or something. We'll ask him, but if I remember correctly, with state finals, he actually took it pretty well, if I remember correctly. But I think he took it.
He got hosed.
But I think he took it really well in the sense that he matured a lot, and he I think he realized like the amount he improved and stuff, and he knew that there was going to probably be another chapter after that, and I think he was able to kind of like reflect with it. I'm sure he was devastated, but he didn't show it. Like he didn't act like ridiculous or anything like that. If I remember
Well,
correctly. Maybe I don't. I don't know. It's hard to remember.
so if Tyler is tracking Jay,
He's beating him
he's
right
got
now.
a promising career ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean,
Imagine that.
Tyler's winning technically.
I know.
Jay took
So
second. Tyler took first.
yeah,
You know what's
exactly.
crazy about those two guys though is that they're very
Different people.
similar, but they're very different.
Totally different.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're
Jay
similar
is so
too.
quiet. Tyler's
Oh no,
outgoing.
no, forget their personalities. They're definitely different personality wise, but like they
Oh,
both have a
Tyler's
nice.
an upper body guy.
No, not
He
Tyler.
stands straight up though.
Yeah, but Tyler has a nice low single and a nice double, just like Jay.
Oh yeah, he knows
They
technique.
both have really, really good tilts on top. You know, they both are really good with their top stuff. But Tyler's a big cradle guy. Jay would probably run a bar, you know, or something like that. Jay never gets tired. Tyler gets tired, you know, but Tyler is a winner. Like he'll get tired and he'll find a way to win still. But you'll see him like not perform sometimes to his fullest when Jay might be guys he's not supposed to technically because he'll keep coming at you and he'll figure out a way to get that score. So they're
And
different. But if Tyler could develop that, like Jay said, that dog mentality, Tyler's going to be a national champ also. I mean, he's very.
I think he's got it. He's got it. He's got the dog in him.
Yeah, I think so. I do agree.
But even with Jay, he was so unorthodox. You know, he didn't do things that
I'm listening.
a typical wrestler would do. Where Tyler's more typical. Tyler's like really great technique. Jay will move a different direction than you expect. It'll just throw you off kilter.
Yeah. What the?
Those lighter guys, man, they're funky.
Jay trying to get back in yet or no? Oh yeah, it is. Nice. Jay, you hear me, bud?
All right, I'm back.
All right.
You can hear
I
us
was
good?
sick of talking to Totora.
Yeah, I could hear you guys.
All right, my bad. So where were we? I forgot where we were at.
Kyle Linder, junior year.
So at Pop and Flow and stuff like that. So I guess that's a good transition because before we get to junior year where you were more successful, and I see that clock going on top, I'm going to upgrade it. I'm going to grab my thing in a second, but so don't worry about that. We'll keep going. But what was I going to say? When we were at Pop and Flow and stuff like that, I think it's a good transition to talk about your off-season wrestling tournaments and the traveling and the stuff like that. Because after, I don't remember somewhere your ninth grade, but after 10th grade, I'm sure you were going through a lot of events and stuff like that. How did that help your wrestling?
Oh, tremendously. I mean, that's where you improve the most is the off season and traveling, getting at least, try to get 30 matches in the off season, wrestle the top competition, enter the national tournaments, get your butt beat. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times that, my dad would drive me, all the way upstate New York, like 6 hours. I'd go 1 and 2. We'd drive back. Freestyle states, I'd go 1 and 2, drive back. So it sucks, but it's a part of the process. You're going to take your losses, and then eventually it got better, and now you're placing at the national tournaments. You're beating state place winners. You're beating state champs. So yeah, it's essential in order for you to grow in the right direction in the sport.
Yeah, and Pete was his dad, and we'll talk about that a little later. Is biggest fan, Jay and Tyler. Big time supporter. But to flip it, Jay and D, follow him up with a question after this. I'm gonna run go get my thing so I can upgrade this. It'll take so you guys can keep talking for a second.
All right, I gotta think about it. Hold on.
Well, it's not yet, so it's gonna be a follow up question to this. But
I'm only kidding. I got 1,000 questions.
I like that about you. But Jay, to feed off of the traveling thing, you said it's essential, right? If you want to be good, you have to go to these tournaments, you have to compete, you got to put it on the line. I think there's also the factor of enjoying that, right? Like there's going to be days, like you said, it sucked driving up, coming back 2 hours or 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever it is, going 1 and 2. But once you start getting the wins, obviously it's more fun. And then also, like, I think, especially in our club, and I'm sure Buxton, I don't know as much about that. I know it's a good club. I don't know about the relationship of the athletes. But I know at Empire, at least especially when you guys were there, you guys all got along. You guys were all buddies. And to me, it made it more fun. Like, yeah, you're going to compete. It's going to be hard. There's going to be a bunch of hard matches. But we're going to have some fun, too, because we're going to be at Lake Placid together. We're going to be over here together in Jersey or wherever we were. Would you say that, like, some people maybe overlook the aspect of this is not horrible. Like, we're going to enjoy this. Like, it's going to be tough. There's going to be hard things, but there's going to be fun stuff involved with this.
Oh yeah, we had a blast. I mean, I was more close with the club guys than, you know, my actual high school teammates. You know, like we had a blast. That's what I look forward to, is the off season tournaments, going, spending the night in the hotel, messing around, running around. You know, it's just, that's what you look forward to, is being a part of a club, is doing that stuff and sort of having that culture and that environment. And, you know, and that's why our club was so successful as well, is because we were all such a close-knit, loyal, consistent group, you know?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think that's a testament.
Go ahead, Dave.
I think that's a testament to you and John. And
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what other clubs do. I have no idea. But, you know, I could see that some people are more competitive within their own clubs. Like, oh, he's the, you know, kind of weird stuff, where you guys don't have that.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I don't care. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, like, it doesn't really affect me too much. To me, it's always been about the kids, right? Like, so I think they kind of maybe sense that, but they all have each other's backs. Like, Jay, I kind of heard him saying, like, they're closer maybe than some of their school friends. Like, it's a good thing, you know, I think it's a good thing. And going through those struggles of, like, you know, some of our practices were hard.
Oh
some
my
of our
God.
practices were tough.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Together, it builds a specific thing. But if you don't see me, D, for a second, I'm just upgrading this. So you guys, D, follow up that with them or whatever you guys are doing.
Jay.
Yeah.
Is that the tour over there? Can he still hear us?
I can hear you. I'm still here. I just can't see you.
I was just going to say who your favorite coach was. But, Jay, you know, one thing that struck me watching your matches and doing that, I kept on thinking about Tyler, and I kept on thinking about how much of an influence you are for Tyler. And I was wondering how you felt. It's an obvious question, but how did you feel when he won that state title last year?
Oh, relief.
Relief. All right.
Relief. I was so happy for him, because I hate it when, like, Tyler used to walk around and used to be like, "Oh, you're Jay's brother, right?
Right.
Like, you're Jay's brother. Like, you're Jay's brother." Like,
right.
No, he's not Jay's brother, and you know, he's Tyler, and you know, he's a state champ. So he sort of, not only did he get out my shadow in the high school perspective, but he outdid it. You know, so when he won, I was so happy for him to just sort of take that step towards getting out and making his own name and building the last name together. But you know, it's what it was. It was relief. You know, the kid worked so hard, had so many heartbreaks, and he finally got it done. And honestly, I'm sure if you ask him a million times, "Hey, would you go through all those heartbreaks again to get the same result?" He'd tell you, "Yeah." You know, so totally.
You know, it was great that he wrestled Quincy in the finals, but it also stunk for us because we love both of them. You know, so when we were there, it was like we saw those guys all year. It brings them in, all, you know. So, but it was great.
No, it was.
And he was saying that they played modified Pop Warner football together.
They were like fighting for the starting quarterback spot for years. So they were always competing together and always being teammates. You know, so,
two great kids.
Yeah, they grew up together. It was great, you know, and it's just funny how things come full circle, man.
Yeah, they're two great kids. So now he's also going to Johnson and Wales, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're not wrestling obviously this year.
Yep. So I mean, he's got to sort of do it, you know, all over again, and you know, create his own legacy. You know, don't follow. You know, don't live in mind, and you know,
right.
You're not.
Hey, he's going to be a 3-time national champ. Right?
Hey, that's fine with me. He'd be
that's
a 4-time.
So you actually, were you in the finals 3 times?
I was.
That's crazy. I wrestled Division III in Oswego, and I went to the tournament 3 times. I never placed.
Yeah, but I was in the finals 3 times. I went 3 times, was in the finals 3 times. My freshman year, I got hurt because because of Tatora. I listened to him my senior year and decided to keep wrestling, and I ended up losing my freshman year in college.
That's crazy. But that's a big tournament, man. I know, you know, it's a huge tournament, Division III, and I think the kids are much better than when I wrestled. But there was like Wartburg and Augsburg. And,
oh yeah, they're still the top dogs, unfortunately. But you know,
interestingly, I didn't even know those teams. You know, like we stayed in New York when we wrestled. We didn't really go that far out. You know, When we got out to those tournaments, those teams were unbelievable.
Oh yeah, they're
They train like Division I teams.
yeah, yeah. Of course. That's why, and they do a great job recruiting. So.
Well, I mean, if you're the best team out there, the kids want to go to you too.
Oh yeah.
But Johnson and Wales, before you guys got there, there was no powerhouse, right?
No, I mean it was ranked probably like top 15 in the country. Nothing to what it is now. Section 1 sort of, propelled, and a few really good Jersey kids, and we had one or two good New England kids, and that's all it took, and that the program made huge jumps.
Yeah.
I mean, Lonnie, now I'm back because I think I fixed it. But so like Lonnie, his coach is a great coach, but I think it just has as much to do with like a J than it does with a Lonnie. And Lonnie found the J, and Lonnie coached the J and loved the J and was there for him. He seems like a good dude that's just there for his guys. And I think again that builds that like trust factor. But when I was in college, I don't remember hearing a thing about Johnson and Wales. Like,
Yeah.
Well, it was a D3 school. You were D1.
but still, like D1 teams will know.
I don't remember them.
Now they're successful. They're
Yeah.
a trophy contending
So,
team.
what are you saying, Tori? You want to coach a Division I team, Division III team?
Jay will come with us.
All right.
No, Lonnie's done a great job with that program. I mean, he's recruiting his tail off. He's coaching the kids. He's not changing the kids' styles. He's just what he gets and working with it. So he does a great job with the program. And that's why it is where it is.
He just seems like such a good guy too. Like he really.
Oh, he's more than a coach. He's there 24/7, and whatever you need from him.
I feel like any successful coach, though, you have to be more than a coach. Like Kale Sanderson is more than a coach. I know he's not out there publicly being more than a coach, but those kids, they live and die off what he says. There's a lot involved there. Dan Gable was far more than a coach, right?
For sure.
He was a mentor. He was somebody they looked up to. He was somebody they trusted. Like trust goes, goes a long way. But that goes back to like your junior year, like you said, your senior year, when you were a little injured and you wrestled at states anyways. I mean, if you didn't trust me, you wouldn't have done it.
I know.
Or whatever.
I was ready to pack it up.
Yeah.
I was ready to pack it up.
I actually remember vividly sitting in my living room texting with you, like, Jesus Christ, this kid's that good. He needs to wrestle. He could be a state champ for the rest of his life. It's unfortunate, like Dee said, like, I don't think all the calls of that match were great at all. But you still, you fought the day. You went out there on the field, and you still took second in the state, which is far better than I could say, and a lot of people could say. So I think it was good that you had that experience and you did that. And I think, I don't know, Jay, speak to this maybe. Did not getting your goal your senior year in high school put a little bit more fire under you?
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
If you asked me if you could go back and win a state title, would you? I'd say no. No, absolutely not. Is it great? Yeah, but I truly believe that if I won a state title, I would have been satisfied. I wouldn't have worked as hard.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have worked as hard.
And when you went there, you had a lot of things that were kind of in your way, in a sense, if I remember correctly. Like you had to get over the knee thing still, which maybe you shouldn't have listened to me and wrestled, but like you had to get over the knee thing. You get there, and if I remember this correctly, and you're gonna have to probably correct me, but that kid Bobby Jordan was there, who's good, and buddy, he was an All-American too. He was a good wrestler. But Lonnie, and those guys brought him in. They thought he was gonna be the guy. And it wasn't anything against him or you. It was like they just had a feeling that this guy is going to be the guy. So you were already kind of batting behind the 8 ball a little bit there. I don't know if that made any sense. But you're behind the curve. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you're behind the curve a little bit. You're injured. And you didn't compete really your freshman year at all.
Yeah, I can't even remember how. I think I had 19 wins and 3 losses, something like that. So I had
more than I didn't think you wrestled that much your freshman year.
I had a decent amount. But I definitely had the odds against me. And Lonnie told me when I was on my recruiting visit, he's like, we have, Bobby Jordan, and he's X, Y, and Z, da da da. And I go, well, that's why I'm coming here. I'm not going to go somewhere where I don't have a good training partner. He's going to make me better. I'm going to make him better, and the better guy's going to rise, and we'll figure stuff out, and we'll spread out eventually. But I'm not running away, and that was one of the things that attracted me to the school, was training partners. So
I think your mentality shows again there, because a lot of kids might be scared of that situation. A kid that's in your weight class or close to your weight class where you guys could be competing for a spot, and he's talented too. And it's like, for some kids, they might say, I don't want to deal with that hassle. I'm going to go to a school where I'm definitely the guy, but your mentality flipped and said, this is how I'm going to get good. This is going to be my workout partner. We're going to make each other better. and it seems that that worked with you
Oh
getting
yeah.
the better of it. But
Yeah.
Bobby Jordan was an AA. He was tough.
Yep.
You know, you being a 3-time finalist, 2-time national champ. You know, I mean, that speaks for itself. But you know, I think that was a smart decision, but it's a tough decision. A lot of kids aren't willing to make.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's
I'm
it,
sorry.
it's a mentality like that, and that's why there's only 10 national champs at the end of the year. There's only 15 state champs at the end of the high school season. You know, it's having those different. Your mind thinks different. It works differently, and the kids that shy away from adversity and will not have as much success as the kids that embrace it. And I mean, I think that's a testament to you, Tatora, because I mean, you could say it. I was pretty much packing it up. I'm done. You know, I dislocated my knee midway through the season, senior year. I was like, I'm done. I'm done. You know, I was ready to quit, and you sort of just didn't really give me an option and forced me to wrestle, and I did, and I wouldn't change it. You know, I think it was a great decision. It made me part of. It helped my mind, and I needed to experience getting through that adversity and finding a way to win and finding a way to get through it. I mean, I still made it to state finals, beat the returning state champ in the semis. You know, it was a pretty solid day. You know.
Well, you were doing great. I mean, yeah, you
Yeah.
wrestled great, and I think we're gonna get into this in a sec too. But like you look at some of your college matches, you're a 2-time NCAA champ, but it wasn't with zero adversity. Like there were some good kids in your bracket. There was
Oh
that
yeah.
kid that I think I don't know if it was your senior year or junior year, but he beat you pretty good.
Junior year.
Junior year, and then you took him out in the finals, and you know all these things. Like you were able to deal with adversity, and I think for me, coach, I think you're similar to me, and I think Jay now as a coach is probably similar to this as well, with the mindset aspect of it. Is to me, it's way more important of who you're going to be when this is all done, right? So like, you know, having that toughness to gut it out like Jay did. I could say what I want until I'm blue in the face, but he has to do it, not me. So he went out there and did it, and I think that shows in just how he is. Like Jay's always working, he's always coaching, he's always doing things with kids. He's finding ways. Like, you know, he has, like you said before, he has that dog mentality. It's just he's gonna work and fight. You know, so while we're on it though, let's speak a little bit about your 3 runs to the national finals and kind of how they went. And because I watched all of the matches, a couple of times you had me like almost throwing up in a bag, but you
Yeah.
got there and you got it done twice, which was super impressive. But talk us through some of these.
All right. So, my sophomore year in the national finals, I was a deer in headlights. Get it out there. I was a deer in headlights. Didn't know, you know, what to really expect. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I ended up getting there. You know, I was the 5 seed, I believe, and I ended up getting there. I ended up beating the undefeated freshman who beat me 3 times or 4 times during the year in the semis. I upset him. He was the 1 seed. And then I had the returning national finalist in the finals. I was winning. And then I ended up like rolling across my own back and getting pinned. So highs and lows in the same tournament. You know, I upset the 1 seed. I beat a kid who beat me 4 times during the year. And then I'm winning in the national finals, and I roll across my own back and get pinned. So that was sophomore year. Junior year, I dropped down to 25. I was at 33. I dropped down to 25. My first match at 25, I have the kid who's ranked number 3 in the country or 2 in the country at the time, and I ended up losing in rideouts. And like everyone's like, you just dropped to 25. You're supposed to be the guy. Da 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 da. And I didn't panic. My coaches didn't panic. You know, it was okay. You know, it happened. I needed that. I needed to lose. So then semifinals of junior year national tournament come. I end up beating the kid. I don't remember the score off the top of my head. I think I beat him by like 2, something like that. And then the finals match, I'm on my way to teching this kid. It was like a 10-point gap at some point or 9-point gap, blowing the kid out the water. And somehow, some way, he tossed me to my back. I got satisfied. I took my foot off the gas pedal, tossed me to my back. And in college, it's 6. So he had, at the time, I guess it was a 6-point gap, and it's tied up. And sitting there on my back, and I'm like, holy shit. A year ago today, I was right here, and I'm not going to allow this to happen again. Yeah. So I fought off my back. I ended up escaping with like 15 seconds left, and ended up winning my first national title.
I remember that one very vividly.
And I was I'll tell you, that is the most exhausted I've ever been after a match. That match took every single bit out of me. I could barely celebrate. If you go back and watch the match and watch my celebration, you see I put my arms up for about 2 seconds, and I'm dog tired. Yeah. I'm dog tired. That was the most exhausted I've ever been after a match. And then my senior year at the national tournament, I was just on a tear. I mean, I saw red. Yeah. I saw red all the way through. I majored my first round kid. Second round kid, I beat by like 6 semis. I majored the kid. After giving up the first takedown, that was scary because I think I only got taken down like 3 or 4 times, 3 times all season. Yeah. And then the finals, I'm sitting there and I'm cool, relaxed. I'm sitting in the tunnel. My teammates are messing with me, and I look over and I see the kid, and he's got the same look that I had on my sophomore year. That you could tell it as a coach. You could just tell when they have the deer in headlights. They're nervous. I can tell, and he just didn't. He wasn't ready for the big stage, and you could tell. And I went out there, and I've been there twice, and it was just like another match, and boom, 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 packed them up. Next thing you know, the team's hoisting up the 3rd place trophy because, we pinned it. I got the pin in the finals, and no, it was a great day. I was awesome. Fired up all tournament. So it was
your
good.
Team must have done well too.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we took 3rd, right?
Well, we had 9 qualifiers.
Wow, that's out of 10. 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10, and the first round was great. We had a lot of people in the quarterfinals, but the quarterfinal round we fell apart. The night session of day 1 we fell apart, and we ended up only having 3 All-Americans going into day 2. We only had 3 people wrestling, and Bobby Jordan wrestled all the way back, took 3rd. Cam Thomas lost in the semis, but wrestled back and took 3rd. And then I ended up getting a pin in the finals. So, and we had everyone that went, did their work and they scored points, so it definitely helped having the 9 guys, and that whole tournament was just high.
Did Oswego win it?
Yeah. Augsburg, actually, I believe Augsburg had they broke the record for most points scored at the national tournament that year. So it was ridiculous.
You guys were capable because, like you said, you took 3rd with 3 All-Americans. You had 9 guys qualified, and probably more, 7 or 8 of them could have All-Americans probably.
If everyone had the tournament that we should have had, we were we're gonna win this bad boy. We're gonna win this bad boy, and that's a part of it too. Is being so close with your team and being on a winning team is everyone's fired up, but at the national tournament, you just have to realize at some point you just got to be focused on yourself, and if you focus on yourself and you do your job, then everything else will fall into place. And I think that's what the 3 guys going into day 2 did. They just focused on their job. None of us were oh, now we can't win as a team. It's
so
no,
smart.
we were all just went on our own, and we just individually did our parts and did our job.
That's a great realization for coaching.
Yeah.
To get into your guys' head and say, look, you got to concentrate on your, dual meets. You guys can ride the highs and lows.
Yeah.
But for tournaments, you got to isolate. You got to really just focus. You got to be selfish.
To me, it's the same for a dual meet, though. It's more so for a tournament, like you said.
Yeah, 2 or 3 matches.
But you can't help anybody if you're not doing your job in anything, right? If you're so emotional about somebody else, that's why, to go back to some of the John stuff, when Jay was in the program, John was a little different with it. He still pushed it, but he didn't push it as much. But when I was in high school, he wouldn't allow us to be in the gym when our teammates were wrestling. He said, go get out. Go get a blanket. Go get a laptop and watch a movie. Stay out of there. It's I don't care if you're on your team. How are you helping your teammate by ruining them on, and then you're wrestling like shit because your energy is all screwed up? And it's true.
Right.
It's
It's
true.
true.
It's a true thing. Like some people can handle it, some
Yeah.
people can't.
Lonnie did the same thing. I mean, that year he did the same thing. He's like, wrestle and get out, leave. Like I remember the regional tournament. I don't think I watched any of my teammates wrestle.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 or 2 matches. But we were in the locker room and we had inflatable mattresses and we were just watching on the track wrestling. Because like you said, it just takes too much energy out of a kid. Even if he wins, if it's a close match and it's an overtime match, you're screaming, yelling, you're juiced up. It's like
for no reason.
it's too much. Or he loses, you're like.
Who's notoriously good at that too is John J. Cross River. Like our good guys at Greeley would do. Our good Empire kids would do it. Like Tyler would be like sitting out on the chair somewhere far away. Our good Greeley guys like Jacob and Matt and Aaron would disappear or whatever. But John J. Cross River as a whole team, for whatever reason, they've all bought into that idea. And I don't know if you remember, Jay, but DeBellis, you probably remember when we go to places like Eastern States, they would take the girls' locker room over. Like, there was no girls there at the time. They didn't have now they had the girls' tournament. So last year, I don't know if they did that, obviously, because we had the girls' tournament. But years past, they would take the girls' locker room over and they put their, like Jay said, their air mattresses, their, whatever. They were watching movies.
There's something else.
Yeah.
There's something else. When they took over the Greeley wrestling room, the varsity room, I go, guys, this is our guys' stuff. It was at the Greeley Duels. I'm like, you got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do that at Greeley Duels. We put them in the office. We get them out. We always get them out. But the problem is, a guy like Jay, especially when he was in college, this is a national champ. So this guy's bought into wrestling. He knows, like, I got to take care of myself. I got to do this, this, and this. It's a little hard sometimes to convince a high school student, especially a guy that's a winter wrestler and that's all, to say, hey, man, get out. We don't want you in this room right now. Like, they might be like, why? Like, I don't get it. Like, it's just a little hard to get the whole team to buy in on it.
It doesn't. I think that's why you don't see it much as the high school stage is because it's so they just don't get it.
Yeah.
Unless they're top in the state, top in the country, you're not going to really see it. Now, if you get a team to do that, maybe you start seeing that team have a little bit more success, and maybe it just starts from the ground up. That first meeting, hey, this is how we do it. This is how we are doing things this year, and it's it.
That's like us too, though, Jay. I don't know if you guys did this. I think you did in high school, but I don't remember in college. But like warm ups and cool downs, right? Like,
yeah,
I made all my Greeley kids do cool downs, but some of them don't know why, but do it. Just buy into the system. Just buy into what we're doing, and you see a guy like Jacob Ferrari that completely buys in without questioning things, and he becomes really good. And it's not to say that we know all, be all, end all, but this is what I was going to build on to asking you later. Is I feel like confidence is everything. So I could be teaching Jacob Ferrer bullshit. My cool down method could be bull crap. My get out of the gym method could be bull crap. I don't think any of that is bull crap, right? I'm confident in what I'm saying, but maybe I'm wrong. You're never always right. But I think having that self-belief that, no, I'm doing it right. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And because I'm doing it right, I'm going to pound this kid. And like having that mental mindset is key.
Well, it's what it is also. It's buying in, and it's trusting your coach.
Yeah.
Right. If you teach your kid to do a cartwheel, and he doesn't question you, that's a special kid. Yeah. It's having that wipeout mentality. It's being trustworthy, and if you tell him, hey, you got to go cool down, I'm going to cool down. You got to do this, I'm going to do this. And I think you get the pushback and you get the kids that don't have as much success when they don't have that white belt mentality, and they sort of push back. Well, why am I going to do it this way when I do it this way?
Well, you know what
you say? White belt mentality?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Like white belts, like you're new. Like white belts, you're new.
Like they're white belts.
They're white belts.
Yeah.
Like you're not walking in the room like you're white belt.
The state champ is still a white belt. It's a white belt mentality, The state champ still has that white belt mentality. He's always willing.
Meaning they're there to learn.
You're there to learn. As a coach, I like to think that I have a white belt mentality too, and I'm sure Jay will say the same. Like, I think I know.
I just exhibited white belt mentality.
Yeah.
Did I just exhibit white belt mentality?
What's that?
By asking that question?
What?
I guess I don't know.
What'd you ask, D?
I said, didn't I exhibit that white belt mentality by asking that question?
Yeah, kind of, I guess, right? But like, even like any of us, like Jay does clinics at the club sometimes, and he'll come to Greeley. Like, even when Jay first came out of college, he wasn't even really coaching yet, or when he was in college and doing things at Greeley, and he wasn't really coaching yet. I would watch how he would show things. I would listen to what he said, and I would take things off it. Like, wow, that makes sense. That's a really good idea. That sounds good. I think to be a good, successful coach, just like a good, successful wrestler, you have to be willing to learn from anybody and everybody,
Yeah.
and not think that you're above anything, but some people have the problem of getting in their own ways where they think it's their way or the highway. And I feel like you kind of get stuck in the sand a little bit with that mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I think it's becoming more and more common where you see the coaches where it's like it's my way or no way, and I mean it's silly, Like at the end of the day, we're all on the same team, and I get it. There's a business side of things, but like if you decide to cut yourself off and not educate yourself on the sport, then all your athletes are going to hit a plateau at some point. So you need to educate yourself. You need to constantly be evolving because the sport evolves and it evolves overnight.
I was going to say, that's pure ignorance, those people that are like that, because you look at wrestling, and Jay just said it perfectly, like it evolves, right? So like you look at wrestling, I was in college, it's 2021, right? Yeah, so I was in college 11 years ago. Like that's a long time now, and yeah, it wasn't that long in the grand scheme of things, but wrestling is different. Like if you watch a college match from 2010 compared to a college match in 2021, it's different. You're going to see single legs still. You're going to see high crotches still. You're going to see different scrambles. You're going to see different approaches on top. You're going to see different bottom work. Things are different, right? Because like Jay said, it continues to evolve. So if you close yourself off and you're like, no, this is how we do it. I'm pretty consistent, I feel like, on what I do throughout the year. But each year there's a different like point of emphasis, because there's things that
I think your style's similar.
My style's similar, but there's different things that I add to the warm-up every year that are different. That were far ankle came in 2 or 3 years ago. I wasn't doing far ankle 5 years ago. That was like 3 years ago, right? Why did we put that in or whatever? I mean? Like little different things.
The hip drill.
We like go back and forth, change things. Setups are different.
We got to do the spinning drill and the sit-out, turn-in drill like I did when I was in high school.
Yeah, we used to do spin drill in high school. Yeah,
I bet you did it in John Jay.
I did it in college.
Sit out, turn in.
No, we did spins. It was spin drill. We'd have to spin. It was a conditioning thing. It was terrible.
Yeah, it's bad for your shoulders too.
I remember Bobby Jordan didn't wear a shirt one time as I'm spinning on his back, and he had the worst like rash sunburn thing on his back for like a week. He couldn't eat it. It was so bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I hate when that happens, but I don't know. But anyway, so Jay, before we wrap anything up, I want to kind of talk a little about 2 things, and I kind of already got on it a little bit, but one is the belief system, right, and buying in. But I'm curious if for you, you personally, not as a coach, more as an athlete, was it hard for you to be very confident in yourself? Was it hard to have confidence, or did you know because you put that work in? Because you always struck me as somebody that was confident, right? You had to work at certain things, but you believed. Mm-hmm. What gave you that belief, other than buying into your coaches? Like, what gave you that belief of like, I'm good? Like, when you're on your back your junior year, what gave you that belief? I'm going to get off my back and I'm still going to win this match. Like, there's got to be some sort of mental framework there.
Yeah, it was I didn't really have that like mindset until I didn't really have like confidence until Jamie Weaver, I would say, junior year, started working on it with me. And he always said like believe, and it just sort of stuck with me. And he always was working with my mind and my confidence. And then I sort of took it and I ran with it, and I took it as like believe in the work you put in. So what you put into sport is what you're going to get out. So if no one works as hard as you, believe in the work, believe in what you do. You're going to the national tour, you're going to state tournament. You already won it. You're going through the motions because you worked that hard. You're there. You're going through the motions. You already won this tournament. Have fun. It's just little stuff like that. So, I would say, yeah, it started my junior year. Jamie sort of, Weaver put it in my head, and I've been confident ever since. But the confidence isn't there when you don't work hard. So when you don't work hard, then you start questioning yourself. Then you're like, oh, wait. I'm like, that's when things get chippy. So if you work hard, and working hard is not just going to practice. Working hard is not going to practice, just going to practice and then going to the gym and lifting for 2 hours. But in between every set, you're on your phone and you're doing something. That's not working hard.
Well, Jay,
there's a difference.
Have you ever heard the saying? There's such a difference. Have you ever heard the saying? It's not it's not the hours you put in, it's what you put into the hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean,
Yep.
it's just, I mean, that's basically, I think what you're saying there, right? It's like you could go to the gym and practice, but you could be a goofball for an hour and a
Yeah.
half in practice. And a funny thing I wanted to bring up to you, Jay, while you were saying it, it just clicked in my mind. RJ Jack, right? Everybody used to, and RJ's doing great, right? He's at a good
Yeah.
school at NC State. He's a superstar, and RJ's a goofball, right? And I would have to be like, RJ, what are you doing? Like, stop. So some of the kids would think like, well, RJ could do that, I could do that, but they didn't see everything RJ did. You know, they
No.
didn't see, they didn't understand. It wasn't like that. Like there was days when I would go and talk to John after practice, and I'd come back out there, and there's RJ all by himself, shirt off, dripping sweat, doing stance in motion with nobody telling
Yep.
him to do that. The other
Yeah.
kids don't see that. They saw the joke he made, and they saw how
Yeah.
good he is, and they're like, well, he could joke like that. Why can't I? They don't see the
Yeah.
fact that RJ's going home watching film on these kids, and he knows exactly who this kid is, and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it really is about what you put into the hours more so than, you know, the hours you put in, you know?
Exactly. And I think that's another thing too, is like that's sort of how like you get the goofballs in the room and you get the kids that just mess around or don't pay attention, is because it's like, oh, Simon says, you know, I'm gonna follow the leader, and the leader
Jay, I
is
love your sayings. I love them.
that's it.
I love
The
them.
leader.
I'm definitely gonna
Dog,
bring. I've heard
white belt.
white belt mentality before, but I haven't heard it in a long time. But that's coming out. Like I like that
Yeah.
one a lot.
I love it.
So it's like, you know, it's oh well, you know, Jay's messing around and doing whatever in practice, but they don't realize that Jay, you know, worked out twice earlier today. He did a
Yeah.
private lesson with Satora and then lifted, and now he's still at practice. And this is your first practice, and you're doing what Jay's doing because Jay's doing it. Like,
Exactly.
you know, but it's so hard to get a middle school and even sophomore and under high schooler to understand that.
Yeah.
You know, it's easier said than done, and you can preach it and preach it and preach it and preach it and preach it, but until that individual decides to wake up that day and say, you know what, I'm gonna make a change, you can lead the horse to water, you can't force him to drink it.
But I would take that kid, even if he's not talented, any day of the week over a kid that thinks that he's above that, right? Like I want to work with somebody that wants to get better, but it also hurts. Like you look at a guy like Alex Malikian, for example, ended up having a good high school career, taking second in the state purely on work ethic, like pure no talent. You know, and I love Alex, but no talent, purely on work ethic. And I'm watching him. He had his wrestle offs yesterday, and he lost to a good kid that has a lot of talent. It's just frustrating because sometimes I feel like for some of our guys that confidence piece is still missing, even if you're doing the work. Like you have to find a way to believe, right? Like I think, you know, for some of our guys, like they work so hard and then they do get into those big matches sometimes and freeze up because they're like, I wasn't that guy, right? A guy like RJ has been successful his whole life. You know, some of these guys that worked all the way up to state finals, you know, and then they get to college, like I have to work all the way up again. I'm not that guy. But maybe like you said, like Coach Jamie said, if I believe, I did it once, you know, I moved up through the ranks in the high school level. Why can't I do it again in the college level? And to me, that's something that Jacob Ferrer is doing right now. He's working his way up in the college ranks, and he's impressive because he's starting to believe more. He's more confident. Last year, he didn't look as confident, but he's saying things to me that sound more confident. But like you were saying before, D, we had 3 really good kids in the last couple of years at Greeley. You know, Matt Shriver, Jacob Ferrer, and Aaron Walk. And Izzy, 4. But Aaron was the opposite. Remember, Jay, I think you and D were talking about, you know, the kid that would do a cartwheel one time after you told, right? That was Jacob and Matt. You know, I had to tell them one time they were going to do it, whatever. Aaron was pushback city, like freshman, sophomore year. But he was good, but he wasn't where he needed to be. By the time he hit his junior year and he decided, I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen. When I say this man made a crazy jump, he made a crazy jump. And by the time his senior year came along, he pinned everybody in the state tournament. Everybody. You know, and I think that's just like
not the Fulton kid.
Oh, that one kid, 3-0. He pinned.
He was holding his hand. The kid was holding Aaron's
hand
like
whole
this.
match, yeah. Pin first round, 3-0, pin.
Yeah.
And I think that just shows that once someone decides to buy in, they will have success. And you get parents all the time that start panicking, you know, and I'm sure you get, especially at the club level, where it's like, why isn't my kid getting good? Why isn't he making jumps? Why is he doing this? And, you know, he's got to buy in. You can send him to 1,000,001 workouts. You can do whatever you want. You can spend all the money you want. If he doesn't buy in, then he's not going to get as he shouldn't be making the improvements he should be, you know. and that's on the individual. And again, I'm sure as Aaron, when he was a freshman and sophomore, you're like, Aaron, you got to trust me. Like, you just try it, just do it. And it's tooth and nail. No matter what you say, it's tooth and nail. Push back.
I kind of liked it though. Like he had a different approach where it wasn't like super like obnoxious. Be like, I was like, Aaron, just listen, man. Like, it was like, but you know what, Jay, to speak on that though, parents. I think parents need to buy in sometimes too, because I see sometimes that parents are doing the counter to what I would want them to do, and babying them or saving them or pushing them too hard. It's either or. But it's like they're not bought into. We as coaches, I feel like us three at least, will know the kid, right? So let us take them. If it has to go a little softer for this kid because they're a little different, we're going to go that route with this kid. If he needs to go straight and get pushed really hard, then we're going to push him really hard. But when the parent's doing the opposite at home, it's kind of like, dude, get on the same page as us.
Yeah, it's and I mean it's a huge issue over here. It's not as relevant as it is in New York, but in Jersey, it's so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad. There's very little loyalty. And even, the parents, and I love my parents. I love my club parents. They're great. But even the parents are just, oh, let's do a workout here. Let's do a workout here. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's go here. Oh, look, we're going to go in the basement. We're going to do this, that, and the other. Like, be dad. Be dad. Be mom. Let coach be coach.
100%.
Trust. You're putting your kid in this club. Let the coaches do the job. Trust the coaches, and that's it. If it's not going to happen like this. It's not going to happen like this. It's going to take time. But when you start putting too many hands in the pot, man, the food comes out really bad. It does.
It does. Eventually too, and it might not be showing right away, but like certain things, it's too much. It's too much. Yep. But I mean that's something though, like buying in, and what you said with the dad being dad or mom being mom. I've said that to the Bells multiple times now. Again, you guys can play this recording, but like with Luca, he's only 1 year old. But I don't think I'm going to coach him. Like, I'll coach him if he asks for help. I'll watch video with him if he asks to watch a video. But if Jay's local again, Jay could coach him. If you're local, D, if you're still coaching, you could coach him. When Jacob Ferreira comes home, or Camacho, or Tyler, these guys are home, they could coach him, right? I have all these people that could coach him. Now, will I be maybe in Jay's ear low-key, be like, like he's just not being too tough. I might quietly say something to him, but I'm not. I want to be dad. I don't understand why a lot of these parents want to be the drill sergeant of like, just let the kid be. Some know, like Pete Duke was good at it though. Pete Duke did know.
And he was.
He knew. He got it. I guess he understood his son.
He's probably
understood PJ. But a lot of parents try to emulate his style, and their kid's different. Like, so they don't get it. Like, they don't, like, everybody tries to do that. But before I hold you any longer, Jay, because I actually have to go to my mom soon too. I'm a booked man today. It's all over the place.
Hey, I didn't get an invitation over there. Why can't I go? I live right down the road.
Yeah, just wait outside for me. I'll be there soon.
What time?
Later. So anyway, the last thing I wanted to talk to you about real quick, and you can say whatever you want about this, is your coaching. So, I knew, like I said before, years back when you were still a JWU guy, that you're going to be a really good coach. Just by the way you spoke, just by the way you showed stuff, just by the way you broke things down, how you were able to relate to the kids like you, like all these things are important. I think I remember saying something to you that if you decided to stay local, we were going to get you on the Grilly staff somehow. I think it was actually, weren't we hiring a new coach or something, but Jay was going back to college. And I was like, shit, if Jay graduated.
Yeah. You guys got Alex or something.
Yeah, which is great too. I love Alex to death. Alex is awesome. We're lucky that we have Alex is great. We're lucky that we have a good Rolodex of great guys around here. Mm-hmm. But, the work that I've seen Jay do with like guys like PJ and Maddie and, some of these other guys that I've known Jay to work with, or when he comes home, Tyler, how about his own brother? And he came back and did a clinic at the club a couple of years back, and the girls that I coached from the city were there. It doesn't matter. What I love about Jay is he'll take a kid like PJ and give him a ton of attention, right? But he'll take one of those girls that I coach in the city. He doesn't owe them anything. And he went over there and he would show them a great low single into a lace or whatever they were working on that day. I just think he has a knack for coaching. For me personally, Jay, and I'm kind of curious, and this is long-winded, but I'm kind of curious of your opinion. For me personally, I like coaching better than wrestling. I love wrestling. I love wrestling still with the guys. But I love coaching. Like, coaching to me is like a passion. What's your look at coaching maybe compared to competing? And so far in your young, successful, but young coaching career, how's it been going, and the highs and lows of it maybe?
So the highs is definitely the kid's success.
Yeah.
That's easy. That's the highs.
Yeah.
The lows is the kids putting in the work and not getting, or them, like you said, putting in the work and not getting the results that they should be getting, you
Yeah.
know? And as far as what I like more,
He's
wrestling
so
is fun,
fresh.
man.
You're so fresh
I'm
out of college.
fresh off the scene. I'm fresh,
Yeah.
but you know what? You know what I love? I do enjoy is just working with. I don't. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It's great working with the superstar. It's great, but I like working with, like, the average kid that just sits there and
Pizza.
doesn't no pushback, and he's having fun and he's enjoying it. You know that I love that, because like I said, sometimes those superstars, they push you back, and then it's like, well, come
It's
on, you
rewarding
gotta,
too, Jay. The kids that
yeah,
are not very good yet, like, because you see them get better,
exactly,
like, right in front of your eyes, and you're like, holy cow, like,
exactly,
And a lot of these young
exactly.
coaches, I think, again, DeBells, I think this is another reason why Jay's such a good coach, is a lot of these young coaches don't understand that concept. They just want the superstar around them, right?
I
They're
mean,
like, oh, I'm not going to coach Joe Blow guy. He didn't do nothing. I want
yeah,
this guy here.
yeah.
But really, one, you're not developing as a coach, because it's very easy to coach somebody that's really, really good. And
A
two,
donkey can do it.
huh?
You
A
look like
donkey.
a real hero. And you hit the single.
Yeah,
He
like
does
you
it.
could do a single, it's not a thing, right? But
Right.
coach a
Get
guy out of
on
a
your
12,
back.
12-0
Get on your
hole,
back.
then you
That's
Yeah,
a
impress
coach.
me. But I think that's a big thing. And you know what I was thinking too when Jay said he wasn't sure, you weren't sure about the coaching, the wrestling thing. I was never an NCAA champ, right? So like the highs of highs, like Jay had the feeling of like complete triumph. It's hard to beat that. But when you start coaching, maybe that kid that is like a so-so kid right now, and he wins a
yeah.
national championship or something like that,
I'm sure it'll change.
you could emulate
I'm
the
sure it'll
feeling. I
change.
mean, I've been longer out of it. I think you're going to have a similar trajectory mentally as I did, but a little different because you were more successful. But I love wrestling. Like I wrestled in a tournament last summer,
Yeah,
like because like the kids got a kick out of it. It was for cancer research or whatever. But I missed the idea of competition, right? I love to compete. But if you said to me, hey man, you can do 10 more of these or you go coach a whole season, I'm like, I'm good. I'll go coach a whole
yeah,
season. But I
yeah,
still
yeah.
like, D will tell you, I'll still grab the guys in the room. Tyler will tell you, I wrestled with them on Friday. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like I
yeah.
love to like get my workouts in,
Yeah,
but I just love
yeah.
the feeling of helping.
Yeah. I think that's what it comes down to too. Is just helping the kids, and um, it's what it's all about. It's the kids. It's not. It's not about anything else. It's not about. And unfortunately, the sport's getting so polluted and in so many different ways that I can sit here and go hours and
Oh
hours
yeah.
of a rant on. But no, it's not about coaching the superstar to post a Facebook post and say that I coach this kid so I can get another kid and get more, money in the pocket. That's not what it's about. It's about developing kids into, young adults and trajecting them in the right path. And it's getting them through the hard times in life that they're going to get through. And that really it's just helping, just being a good person and doing the right things, and leading by example. And I think that's what it's all about. And I think that's what a lot of people are losing sight of, unfortunately. But I mean, I, I
I
still
agree
roll
with
with the
you.
guys too. I still
Yeah.
roll with the
Well,
guys
I
too.
heard I heard
All
you went
that.
3 hours the other day or something. You wrestled for like three
Yeah,
hours.
yeah. I wrestled for 3 hours. It was a rough one, but
I
no,
love
it's good. It's good. I love it. And I get the question all the time: are you gonna compete again? You gonna compete again? And I mean, I think Leo DeLuca asked me if I'm gonna compete every time he
it.
walks through the door, and I give him the same answer: no.
I would love to
So
see you wrestle something though. You don't have to like fully commit to it. Just go to like a tournament and see what's up.
Oh,
yeah,
come on. They destroy people.
Yeah, but it's fun. Well, you'll see.
We
Maybe
should
when you're,
we should have
you
an
know what?
alumni tournament at John's.
I told him.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
This is what I tell everyone. I finished at the top, as at the highest way possible. I got a pin in the national finals. I'm not lacing my shoes up at all. I'm done.
That's a good point. That's a good point. It's hard to top that unless you make a run for an Olympic gold. It's hard to top that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. That's crazy. But you never know. You might get a little itch.
Maybe.
Oh, you'll get an itch. You'll get one.
Maybe.
It's weird. You know what
Maybe.
it is too, Jay, is that you are so tough and good. That I know. How old are you now?
23.
So you're still young as hell. So you're still smashing people around. So you might
Yeah,
like
I'm
start
still
smashing
moving.
these guys around and be like, he's doing pretty good at a tournament. Like maybe I should jump in one here or there. I'm not saying right now this instant, but you might miss the competition feel of it.
Yeah.
And another, Jay's like a folklore because Tyler was telling me too yesterday or 2 days ago. He was like, we were talking about lifting, and Tyler's telling me how strong he is, of course, because he has this big back now and he thinks he's this guy. He's
Oh
like,
my
you see my
God.
back? My back's huge. I'm like, Tyler,
Yeah.
go away. But I was like, you and Jay ever lift? No, first I asked him if him and Pete ever lifted together, and he goes, yeah. He goes, I'm like, does your dad hang with you in the lifts? He goes, we push each other, but I lift more. I go, cool. I go, I bet you Jay can lift as much as you. He's like, wait, and he's smaller than me. I'm like, I bet you Jay can lift as much as you. He goes, he probably beats me in bench. I'm like, what is Jay bench? He's like 315, something like that. I'm like, he's 130 pounds. How the hell does he bench 315? He goes, I don't know. Like, so you're just a freak of nature.
I used to throw around a lot of weight. So I mean, I'm not into it as much as I was. I never got to 315, so I don't know what he's talking about. But it was close to 300. And I weighed like 140, but I used to throw around stupid weight. Unfortunately, I'm not into it as much just because there's not enough time in the day for me to do it. But yeah, no, I guarantee you I can still hang with Tyler on some of his numbers for sure.
Little brother too. You got to smack him around a little bit.
That's it.
So,
I told
but
him
anyway,
I still beat him. I'll still
yeah,
beat him.
yeah, I think
100%.
you would beat him. I think you would
Little
definitely beat him.
brother.
You know what it is
But
too? Why I think you'd beat him? Like you said, it's a little brother. I think if you put the pace on him in the third, he'll just crumble. It'll be like it's Jay.
little brother.
I got
He'll
that.
be
Little brother.
He
Once he
talks so much.
breaks 180,
I
I'm
love
done.
Tyler. It's so funny. I'm saying to D before when you got frozen there for a second, is you guys are so similar in ways. Even wrestling wise, you guys are similar, but then you're so different in wrestling. And then personality, you both are really good guys. Well, Tyler, I was gonna say good kid Tyler, but he's a guy now. He's a man now. He's 18 or whatever. You both are really good guys, but you're totally different. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's similarities, but there's like Jay could be really funny, so could Tyler. But they're funny in totally different ways. Like, it's just it's great. He's his own guy. Like Jay said, he's his own guy. But anyway, D, you could get your last words. I'll get mine, and then Jay.
I got one more question though. I just
okay.
was interested to know, when you hurt your knee your senior year, did you develop that lower style of wrestling to protect, or was that always there?
It was always there, but it wasn't nearly as relevant as it was until I hurt my knee.
And you were protecting, because I tell you, that style right there, they couldn't figure it out. Anyway.
Yeah, and then John told me to start putting my head through people's noses, and I started doing that, and then I started to like it a lot. So
put your head through people's noses?
Yeah, I actually took out 2 kids in college with that.
Because they would try to down block, right, with their head, and you would just go.
They would get as low as me, and I would put my head right through them. Yeah, because John used to tell me all the time, someone gets down with them, put your head right through. Yeah, I busted a few noses, gave a few concussions, not purposely, but it just.
Well, you got the first takedown in the national finals. You went in with your head and you cut your nose.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
You gotta be tough, man. You gotta be tough.
Yeah, you dominated that kid. Anyway,
hit this man, because I'm sure he's got to go like coach 50 people or something. He's a popular guy. Hit him with your last words.
Jay, thanks for the interview, and
absolutely.
It's great watching you go through your whole career, and then watching Tyler do it too. It was a real great connection for Section 1. Hopefully, you'll be back in Section 1 coaching. We would love to have you back.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys. Hopefully I'll be really soon,
Well, that's
and I love your philosophy. Too. Very good.
If we could get for me, like before you go, Jay, then you could say wrap it up. But one, I want to mention in there, you mentioned Coach Weaver in there. What's very impressive to me about Coach Weaver is, and this is not disrespect to him, but he's probably not the Kel Sanderson of wrestling technique wise, right? He's good for sure, but it seems like he's able to mold your guys' mind in a good way. You had Brett, Tyler, and Jay, who are all different kids, totally different kids, but they all were extremely successful. So Coach Weaver did a great job there. I know he's retired now, but awesome job there. I wanted to mention that. And Pete and his mom and all these people, the whole support system, they were, I love watching the Albis. They come in a pack, they're ready to go, cheering each other on. And it's a nice dynamic there. I really appreciate that. But Jay, as Coach said, thanks for the interview, but we're also extremely proud of you. 2-time NCAA champ, 3-time finalist. I mean, by the time you won your first NCAA title, you were wrestling for 6 or 7 years. That's insane, right? Like, so you worked your butt off. You got a national title. You got 2 national titles. now you're doing an unbelievable job coaching, and you're helping the next generation, and more so being men and women, which I think is more important, but they're getting good at wrestling as well. So really excited to see where your future holds. If you do decide to come back to New York from New Jersey, you always have a spot with us, and I'm sure you always have a spot with Empire too, if you decide to do that route. But you can wrap it up, Jay, but we really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Appreciate it a lot. I was getting a little upset. I saw all these other moments, and I'm like, I'm not getting the invite, I guess, whatever. But
Tyler,
no, thank
Tyler
you guys.
tell you
we didn't think we could get you. We didn't think we can get you.
We had to call your PR.
He said, yeah.
But Tyler texted me about it.
You
I was at
saved
the
the
gym.
best for last.
I swear to God, I laughed out loud when I read it. Tyler goes, you know how Tyler's a relaxed ass. I forgot how he said it, but he said something like stupid.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jay's the man. We gotta save like the better guys for at the end. Who's gonna be in the show anymore?
Yeah.
I got a couple more. I have like 5 or 6 more we still got to do. But I think after Jay, we'll do 5 or 6 more.
No, I like it. Keep doing it.
I'm tired.
All right.
Tired.
Thank you guys
job,
again.
Jay, you're the man, bud. Jay, I'm gonna stop recording, but I'll send you this. Stay on for a second. I'm just gonna stop recording.